I think we should get started. This chapter deals with lust. And so the first step I'm going to do is ask you, what are we talking about?
Well,
I want to be sure we're on the same page here.
my pen is at home.
Wanting another man's wife or another
Okay,
wife's husband.
okay. What else?
Well, that's coveting.
Yeah.
That's different from lust.
How would you define it? That's an action. But
What chapter is it? I can't.
This is checking your name and address.
I think it's 8.
Eight.
Ready.
The direct.
8. Yeah. I didn't see the title. But I've read, yeah, I read it. I got it. Yeah, I read it.
Yes.
I'm
I'm waiting for a definite.
going with you.
I had a thought, but then it just went away.
I'll sign the card that you sign.
Okay.
It's going to be a slow class if I don't get it.
Yeah. Nobody wants to,
Nobody wants to define lust.
sit back here with him.
What kinds of lust? No. Arlene mentioned one already. What kinds of lust are there? Tell me what kind.
Lust for,
I think you
lust is you're wanting something you don't have.
Okay.
And it can be financial, it can be
sexual.
sexual, it can be not, people's, everybody wanting
How,
like fame.
I think it goes, I think it's a little deeper than wanting. I think it's
A strong desire for.
Yes.
Yeah.
very, it's all you can focus on. I mean, it takes over your whole mind
So,
that you can't let it go.
so if you are a new married couple and you're living in an apartment and you lust for a home, you lust for a house.
You could.
You could, but I mean, it has to be like it's all consuming. You can't think of anything else.
I guess it depends on how bad the apartment setting is. How much you desire that home.
well, but I think, you have to plan, to be able to have a home.
Right.
Yeah.
That's different, if you want things and you have to plan and work toward that, but not necessarily lusting. I think lusting is more consuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Consuming.
so if I'm married, my neighbor is married, and I plan to take her away from him,
But it depends on if it's all consuming.
Yeah, I think it gets to the point where it's all, you just can't let it go.
So give me an example, Coral. Have you ever had anything in your life that's been that way?
Oh,
I'm trying to think of any time I've been
Food.
totally consumed.
Food. Every
Fine.
once in a while,
I cannot think of anything but food. I mean, yes, I'm probably a compulsive eater. I am a compulsive eater if I let it get out of hand. Where, especially if it's some big, luscious, sinful dessert.
Okay.
so you can lust after dessert.
I can.
And before.
What other kinds of lust are there? We've talked about infidelity and we've talked about dessert. What other kinds of lust can you think of?
Doesn't the chapter just talk about lusting for other people?
Maybe.
I couldn't hear that.
She said,
That doesn't it? The chapter just talk about lusting for other people. Is that the sum total of lust that you lust after other people?
I think that's what most people associate lust
Yeah.
with,
Okay.
is the sexual desire for somebody.
Okay. and you can think of no other kind of lust.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Hi.
some people lust for power.
Okay,
Oh, that's a good one.
good. I like that.
There you go.
I don't like it, but I understand it. Any other kinds of lust you can think of?
Lust for money.
I was gonna say, less for money keeps on coming into my mind.
Fame.
Ah,
Is it lustful to want to have a good solid income to cover all your expenses? Is that lust?
It could be, yeah, especially if you are a workaholic where that's all you do is that you just, and I can understand that because I've always had the fear of being destitute, so, but not to the point where I just collected money to collect money. I mean, sometimes that's all they do is they just hoard the money that they get.
Okay.
Speaking of hoarding, that's a form of lust, I would think.
Okay. Hoarding, wanting to grab everything,
Yeah,
hold on to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
We've known people like that.
I think a lot of times hoarding is more depression-based,
Yeah, it is.
than lust-based.
It is somewhat, yeah.
I was going to say I've gotten to the point where I am a hoarder and it just is overwhelming just trying to even think of where to begin.
We've had somebody that actually attended here where the congregation got together and cleared out her house. Her basement was so full that you could hardly get through it. And I had a computer friend who I visited his house once or twice, and there was about a 2-foot wide path through his house. Everything else was books and computers and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So David's best friend through high school, his dad was, and he was in a wheelchair.
do you think that's lust?
I don't
Hoarding,
think
I mean,
his-
that kind of hoarding, are you?
I think it is myself. I mean, yeah, there's other parts of it too, but
Jonathan?
Well, and yeah,
I think by definition, lust is specifically referring to sexual desire, but we use the terminology when we talk about power or money or things, usually in a sense that we want to accumulate an excess of money or an excess of power, or we've lost control over our ability to stop desiring for it.
yeah.
But I think the prime example of lust would be the story of King David and Bathsheba. He lusted after Bathsheba so much that he had her husband killed. That's to excess. That's a loss of control.
that's a
Well, he had him killed to hide his sin. So that's the lust for power or respect.
well, but he did it because of
Yeah.
Bathsheba.
Yeah, but he didn't want to be found out.
Okay. Well,
But
then,
I think he also wanted to take Bathsheba away from Uriah.
yeah.
Yeah, he wanted her. And
He got
that's why he sent the husband up to the front line to be killed.
So is there a difference between lust, desire, and coveting?
I would say so.
To me, lust is more consuming.
Okay.
Agree.
Yeah, I would agree.
So you can desire someone, but not lust after them.
I suppose.
Maybe.
Okay. All of a sudden,
Don't
it's
know.
more tenuous here. Maybe, I suppose. How about coveting? Where does that come in?
I feel like coveting is kind of the starting phase, or the desire is the starting phase. Coveting is kind of the middle,
Yeah.
and then lust is like all consuming. You
Gotta have it.
yeah, you have to have it. But like in desire, you're like, oh, it would be really good if I had that. And then coveting, you're just like, man, I really wish I had that. And then lust is like, why don't I have it? I gotta have it. I got it. And you get upset. So it's like different degrees of the same
And
thing.
I don't think desire is necessarily in itself a bad thing. I mean,
No, because you can desire to help people. You could desire to do good things.
That is.
but
coveting.
even,
Me,
A bad thing?
to me,
I
coveting
think, yes.
is wanting something that somebody else has
Okay.
that you don't. And
And
desire is just, I'd really like to have that.
yeah.
Especially when it's your neighbor's ox.
Yeah.
I really wish I didn't
My
have to
neighbor's
borrow
ox that
it.
I was desiring. No.
If you're sitting there with a fork in your hand, you're in
Yeah,
trouble.
yeah, but the scripture are specific
Lust. Is
about
lust
that.
always evil? Is it always bad?
To me, it seems, I think so. I don't know. I've never come across anything that for lust is good, but then I never really thought about it either.
Okay.
There are some people that think that simply admiring somebody of the opposite sex is lust. I've known one of the people that I know, that one of his things is I may be old, but I ain't dead. Sort of thing, which is, that's harmless.
Okay. Yeah,
I wasn't going to say anything, but there's a Bible example. When Boaz looked over and saw Ruth leaning the edge of the cornfield, he saw a beautiful woman, okay? And as a man, he wanted to meet her, talk to her, okay? That's just healthy desire, that's not lust. So that's an example of Boaz seeing a woman and he was attracted to her. But that's not lust. Lust is if you pursuing it and trying to use manipulative actions to seduce, then that's lust. But just admiring the beauty of a person is not necessarily lust.
Okay. Any other comments before we go on to the dictionary?
I guess the way we're talking, I've been talking here about the intensity of lust. If you get a little too far gone, then you're psychopath.
Okay, let's look at what the dictionary says. The obvious one, intense sexual desire. That's defined as lust. An overwhelming desire or craving. Somebody mentioned a lust for power. So that's included in the dictionary. Intense eagerness or enthusiasm. A lust for life. Is that bad or good?
That would be good, I think, because you're just trying to live life to its fullest.
Okay.
Unless you
Well, yeah, unless you
take it too far and kill somebody to protect or to be able to live the life that you want.
Okay.
It's all the degree of like how far does somebody take it?
Or maybe they killed somebody because they want to see what it feels like.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you agree with that definition? It's only the American Heritage Dictionary of the English language, so it could be wrong. Does that seem to cover everything? No dissenters. Well, there are two words for lust in the Hebrew language, and I'm not about to try to pronounce them, which I will slaughter. But one is basically conveys desire, lust, or craving, and can refer to both legitimate and selfish cravings, depending on the context. This is from a site that discusses the Hebrew language, so I assume it's correct. Another word is related to lust is, which is used in Numbers, which are strong desires, sometimes interpreted as sexual passions, but not always sexual, sometimes others. So we've talked about other kinds of lusts this morning. So, comments so far?
Well, I think we have the introduction of, or the element of selfishness in one of those definitions, one of the meanings.
Yeah.
And so that's a distinction that seems like we've been touching on, that the more selfish it becomes, the less legitimate or the more sinful you can risk. Like, I desire this, and I desire it only for my own good. And I don't care about anybody else or who I hurt to get it. Well, that's crossing the line.
Can a husband lust for his wife's attention or vice versa?
Sure.
Yeah, I would think, yeah.
Is that sinful or not?
Or you.
Well, it depends on how far you take it.
But in keeping with Ryan's corollary, if it's for selfish purposes only, then that could be not good.
Well, I would say that if it's to the exclusion of your partner's needs at that time, yes, then it's selfish and
Or if it gets to the controlling them and isolating them from everybody and that kind of stuff, or killing somebody that's taking their attention away from you.
So what I'm hearing is, according to the dictionary, lust can be good or bad, but it ends up being the motivation.
Yeah.
How selfish of a
Motivation and degree.
pardon?
Motivation and degree, I think.
Okay, motivation and degree. Other comments? You're like a high school class talking about sex. You're very quiet. Okay, let's take a look at the
I was
background.
just thinking, Jonathan, when you were a kid, you would kind of lust to be in the in group.
Hmm.
You would, have that desire that how can I make myself popular enough to be part of all these young kids in high school and college, I think, are going through that.
Yeah. And again, I think it can make a difference. I mean, if you compromise what you believe is right and wrong to be part of the in crowd, then that's not so good. If, on the other hand, you want to be popular, you want to be a member of the football team, and you go out and you practice every day and you're working hard and all, that lust for that position, bad?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Unless it consumes you to the point that you can't function normally.
Or you push your body so hard that you break.
And what you have to give up to accomplish it.
Right. So you're saying there's no easy answer?
No,
yeah.
there's no easy answer at all. Because there's always a degree.
Okay. The background of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talks about lust and coveting. And so the author, Bolton, says there are some scriptures in the Old Testament that basically create the background for what Jesus is saying. The first is Exodus 20:14 and 17. And the number 7 there means it corresponds with the 10 Commandments, number 7. I didn't know they were numbered that way, but I guess they are. You shall not commit adultery. And then Deuteronomy follows up. And I'm giving you a little bit of a variety of versions of the Bible here. This is the New Revised Standard Version, updated edition, which is why nobody ever spells it out. It's a long term. Deuteronomy 5:15. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. You shall not murder, and some versions say kill, neither shall you commit adultery. So that's, that's pretty clear, and that's what the author says Jesus had in the back of his mind from his learning, his teachings. Second one is from Exodus 20:17, and that corresponds with the last of the Ten Commandments. You shall not covet your neighbor's ... wife. There are lots of other things included in there. And the full thing is, neither shall you, and by the way, this is talking about things you should not do. And so it reads strangely since it comes in the middle of a list. But neither shall you covet your neighbor's wife, neither shall you desire your neighbor's house, or field, or male, or female slave, or ox, or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. And again, that's 5:21, New Revised Standard Version. So Bolton is saying these are the commandments from the Old Testament that Jesus incorporated into his Ten Commandments, into his Sermon on the Mount. Into his Sermon on the Mount.
I think it's more picturesque if they use the older language. You say, you shall not covet your neighbor's ox, nor his ass, nor his wife. I just think that's more picturesque.
Yeah, it certainly is. And if you've forgotten, here you have the Ten Commandments. And the author is basically saying Jesus is repeating the message of those Ten Commandments, but in the Sermon on the Mount. Number 7, don't do it. Number 10, don't think about doing it. And one of the authors he quotes says, do not covet someone else sexually. All sins arise from the sin of covetousness. I'll get it out eventually, including the seeking of power over another. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Uh,
Because I think lust is up, it progresses from coveting if you don't stop it there.
Okay.
I'd have to think about whether that's a true statement. All sins arise from the sin of coveting, including seeking power over.
Well, think about it for 10 seconds, then give us an answer on whether you agree. Can anybody think of a sin that does not grow from coveting?
I'm just thinking about the other 10 commandments, thou shalt not steal.
Okay. Well, why do you steal? You covet what somebody
Something
else
that
has?
didn't belong to me. I mean, so, that's, I was just trying to run through the top 10.
Yeah.
I don't see how number 2 and 3 have much to do with that.
Well, true is because you've got you an image that you're coveting instead of God.
I suppose what you mean by graven image. Yeah. A lot of people think of it as just a picture.
And if you have another God in front of God, you're coveting that God instead of God.
You're coveting the attention of that God.
Well, and we talked earlier this hour about people who want money. They lust after money. So Does that, the author said, not make unto thee any graven image. Can money be a graven image for some people?
Yes, we can idolize money.
What about, not that I'm arguing about it, well, maybe I am.
Yeah, please.
The fourth commandment, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Let's see, I'm trying to see if there's a thread that connects to coveting there.
Going your own way. You want to go your own way instead of, I don't know, that's what I'm thinking.
Could be.
I would love to cut my backyard, mow my backyard today, but I don't think I can.
Is that because of the rain or
Yes,
Sunday?
rain. Definitely the rain.
Oh, okay.
You can covet your paycheck that you get by working on the Sabbath day.
Yeah, that's true. So why do you think coveting is not the root of all sins? Why is the penultimate commandment, number 10,
Not good.
thou shalt not covet? Can't talk this morning. I covet a mouth that would sync with my brain. It doesn't happen all the time. So
Well, I kind of think that coveting is sort of like the root of where you take sin. I think it's the first act.
well, it's something to think about. I mean, so we'll leave it at that.
And why is number 10 the most important instead of number 1?
Yeah.
That's a matter of opinion.
Well, only because we tend to save the best for last.
But if you want somebody to get something done,
Put it at the top of the list.
you put it at the top.
Good point.
And Jesus says, most important one is, you love God no matter what, and then love your neighbor, there's a scripture about that, so choose to say which one is more important. That Jesus said.
The most important is love God and love your neighbor.
Yeah.
And he did specifically say that.
As yourself. So you're also supposed to love yourself, but not to being selfish and all-consuming.
Narcissistic.
Yeah, narcissistic.
Okay, I'll buy that. So besides the Big Ten, as Ron called them, what did the Old Testament teach? The author says Old Testament references to lust typically focus on unbridled desire, covetousness, and the dangers of allowing the heart to wander. Scriptures warn of destructive consequences of pursuing desires of the flesh, physical beauty, or forbidden things. So that's the author. What do you think?
I agree, because scriptures are there as a guide for us to how to live our lives.
Okay. Now remember that Arlene said that. Well, I'll go a bit further. Tell us how to live our lives. So,
I think the key there is destructive consequences.
okay.
That you don't want any lust that takes over and becomes destructive in your life. It's not that I can't want something. It just can't be so consuming. Like April said, it's a matter of degree.
Yeah. Does it separate you from God? Maybe that's where you need to,
There you go.
if I, here I'm okay, but here I'm more concerned with it than I am with what God wants for me.
It's maybe I'm the only one who comes up with this analogy, but it's like an opioid.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
There you go.
it comes in handy sometimes when there's extreme pain and when you need to be out of it temporarily for doctor to help you. But if you become addicted to it, if it becomes passion, an addiction, then that's obviously not good for you. So it's a matter of degree. Any other comments on the dangers of allowing the heart to wander, covetousness, and etc.?
I was wondering about the pursuing desires of physical beauty, because I had never thought about it like this, but there's some people that go in for elective surgery for just beautifying themselves, and it just gets, I could do a little bit of that with myself, with my thing on my side of my face, but some people just go way overboard on it, like having dozens or hundreds of such things.
Well, and I think of gym rats. I mean, guys that are in the gym so consumed with bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Taking copious amounts of supplements to do that.
Well, I was thinking steroids too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are considered supplements.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the Old Testament teaches several categories of coveting and lust. Coveting and desiring the forbidden. And Deuteronomy, we've already read that one, but basically you can't covet your neighbor's house, his wife, his ox, his ass, anything of that sort. The other one is
One more.
another one is, and this kind of addresses what Russ was talking about a little bit, physical beauty and enticement. And again, these are all Old Testament lessons. And this particular proverb is headed warnings against folly. Do not lust in your heart after her beauty, or let her captivate you with her eyes. There's one version, I can't think of which one it is, it says something about don't let her flutter her eyes at you or something of that sort. I just thought I'd throw that in for fun. It says a man who commits adultery has no sense. Whoever does so destroys himself. Blows and disgrace are his lot, and his shame will never be wiped away. So there's a second Old Testament teaching on lust, and another one is guarding the eyes. And the scripture reads, "I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a young woman," and some versions translate it virgin. And that doesn't make sense until you realize that this is the story of Job. And Job is wondering why he's been afflicted with all these sores and the death of his family and all this sort of thing. And he's ticking off all the things that he has done that he believes are God's will. And he's wondering, why am I being tormented after doing all these? And one of them is he doesn't look at good-looking women. He's agreed not to do that. So, and that's guarding the eyes. And the consequences of lust. Proverbs talks about with much seductive speech, she pursues him with her smooth talk. She compels him. Right away, he follows her, and goes like an ox to the slaughter. Or bounds like a stag toward the trap until an arrow pierces its entrails. He is like a bird rushing into a snare, not knowing that it will cost him his life. And because that is aimed so much at men, I give you an image of both a beautiful man and a beautiful woman, knowing that can apply to women too. So
I was gonna say, that's pretty sexist there.
I know. I was going to ask, does anybody else have a problem with
Yeah.
women having all this power that, I don't know.
Well, don't women have all those powers?
I don't know.
I don't know. Sometimes men have those powers.
Yeah.
I have it from an artist's point of view. I've been a member of the Nelson Gallery for years, 35 or 40 years. All right. Some of you, is I'm not the only one that goes to the Nelson Art Gallery. You go through all those galleries, especially the Renaissance art, and you'll see a lot of nudity. And the statues there and whatever. And Michelangelo, he was just one example of hired by the Pope, paint the Sistine Chapel. You look up at the Sistine Chapel, you'll see nudity. And he's just one example of all the Renaissance artists and others who have done nudity. But, so I'm just saying, are all these artists going to go to hell then because they did nudes?
Well, what does the class think? You get to be judge and jury. What do you think?
I think it's way more difficult to go to hell than for that.
Say what?
I think it's way more difficult to go to hell than painting or.
I hope so.
I think that Christianity, well, and I was going to say back in the early, well, once it became
It's more difficult for men than
incorporated
women,
by,
I think.
became a corporation type thing where you had all these rules that would send you to hell. I think it's harder to go to hell than that. I don't know.
And God that gave us these desires.
I think it's all a degree.
Yeah.
It's a degree of where you take it. Studying the human body, if studying the human body is going to send us to hell, then doctors, nurses, artists,
Right.
everybody that has to do it for their career would be in hell.
Right.
Well, and in those early days,
Good point.
there were laws against that because you weren't supposed to investigate the body.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, it's a degree. It's, if you're studying the human body for a purpose, that's one thing. If you're lusting after it, if you're, seeking it out just for the thrill of it or whatever, then yeah, that's different.
And wasn't it Isaiah who wandered around 3 years without clothing?
Right.
So, I mean, nudity in itself is not a sin. I mean, the Garden of Eden, they didn't wear clothes until they.
It was a sin
until they
realized.
Yeah. And they got shame.
So I think everything is just the degree that you take it.
Okay.
Well, and
Monogamy.
Thank you.
I can almost barely say it.
I know. I think we all have trouble connecting our mouths and our brains today. Many of us.
Well, remember the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden story sets up this scripture really well.
Yeah.
The woman that persuades the man to do all these things, not the man. Man's just weak.
Poor men.
Yeah, poor men.
Poor weak men.
And let's blame the woman for her beauty because it's, the poor guy can't control himself.
Yes. When God comes to them, Adam blames Eve.
And we as a society have continued to blame the victim, the women, for enticing the man to abuse them or to rape them or, all sorts of stuff. So,
And our society had looked at scriptures like this to say that's what God said.
yeah.
Well,
And absolutely, that's what the history of our country has been.
I think that can you go back to the previous slide? I don't want to get hung up on
Sure.
the whole. Yeah, that slide seems to be a warning against falling for seduction, which I can cut both ways on the gender divide. But I do think that generally, I think women have a certain. Why are you looking at me like?
Oh, dear husband, where are you going? What hole are you going to dig yourself into? I'm
Be
curious.
careful, Ryan. Very careful.
All right, noted.
It's not too long a walk, Ryan.
It's not too far.
No, but I mean, generally, men and women have different kinds of powers and strengths. There's always exceptions, but generally, men on average have more physical strength, or at least traditionally have, and women, I mean, have a certain physical vulnerability, and you can extend that to bearing children. If you're pregnant, if you're a woman who's pregnant, you're more vulnerable. So they lack certain. So there's that, but then they also have the ability to influence. They have their.
You are trying so hard to talk around it. Just say it.
Well, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but
It's probably a good thing.
I think it's interesting in the world of nature, like in birds, the male is the one that has the pretty colors and has to go around and do the fancy dances to
Entice.
draw the female to him and to be selected.
Well, it just the way where Ryan was going just reminded me of Ursula when she takes Ariel's voice, saying, "Well, you've got your looks, you've got all of your things. You can get him to kiss you without having, or to fall in love with you without having your voice." And it's just like, yep. Why is it so stereotypical that even our Disney movies have pulled it in?
Yeah. Well, I would propose to you that before my wife and I got married, I seduced her by being as kind as I could, by being gentle, by knowing what she liked. That's all a form of seduction, isn't it?
Yep.
I mean, if you figure out what the other person likes and wants and trying to meet those desires.
You
That's
didn't
just
do it with lust, with intent of lust, though. This is
I just want to marry her.
I know, but you did it from love. You didn't do it from lust.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Well, anyhow, let's deal with punishment now.
Yeah.
Old Testament punishment. Set yourselves apart for a holy life. This is God speaking. Live a holy life because I am God, your God. Do what I tell you. Live the way I tell you. I am the God who makes you holy. Any and every person who christens his father or mother must be put to death.
Okay, thank you.
Remember, Harleen was saying we need to do what the Bible tells us to do. So children better be honoring their parents. By cursing his father or mother, he is responsible for his own death. If a man commits adultery with another man's wife, the wife, say, of his neighbor, both the man and the woman, the adulterer and adulteress, must be put to death. And that's Leviticus. That's the message version of Leviticus, and the King James and others are pretty close. So
Well, nowadays you have to also add with another man. A man can commit adultery with another man.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
And a woman with another woman.
Well, and it also talks about basically homosexuality.
And bestiality.
Well, we've talked about how Jesus came not to do away with the law, but to fulfill the law. Well, there's the law. You're supposed to stone someone who disrespects their parents or commits adultery. And then what did Jesus teach? He says, you have heard it said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Okay.
But then he also says, he who's free from sin, throw the first stone.
Yep, we're not there yet. He continues, if your right eye causes you to sin, and by the way, another version says stumble, another interpretation of that word says stumble, tear it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell, Gehenna. And if your right hand causes you to sin or stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one of your members than for the whole body to go into hell. And if we have time, we'll come back to Gehenna and the Valley of Wailing. But we may not have time. We'll see. So how do you react to that?
There should be a lot more people missing arms and legs and
eyes
and stuff in the world than there is if we were living by that.
Yeah.
Pretty extreme.
Okay.
Some parts of the world still keep those strictness.
Yeah. But they don't tend to not take out people's eyes for just looking at the wrong way. It's more, you did something wrong, like you stole this. I'm going to take your arm or your hand.
So the question becomes, how literal should we take this? So we can all agree Jesus' teachings here about unfaithful lust, sexual desire are strong. That's a pretty powerful statement. His vivid language gets our attention. What do you think?
Yeah, it does.
Hyperbole? Is it hyperbole?
Hyperbole.
Yes and no. I think, I don't think he was advocating we cut off our appendages, but I do think Jesus is, the words of Jesus are illustrating the severity of sin. It's like, this is not something you want to mess around with. And it's better to make painful personal sacrifices so that you don't have the painful consequence of sin. That's my interpretation.
And the author says, tear out your eye means do not look. Cutting off your hand means do not touch.
No touching you.
That's Bolton's approach.
Right.
Comments?
Right.
I tend to think the author's right, that it's hyperbole. He's really trying to force the issue by saying, this is how serious this is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do is think about what happens when people let their lust for another person go overboard and destroy families, et cetera, et cetera. So then the question becomes, what about lustful thought?
Are we supposed to tear out our brain?
If you take that literally, maybe so. Have any
Lobotomy on
more
yourself.
thoughts?
Or with the modification, don't think about it.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but you know, when you tell yourself don't think about something, that's all you think about. So it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, don't think about that thing, because then it's just a spiral of you're feeling guilty for thinking about the thing you're not supposed to think about.
So instead, you have to
think about something else.
Yeah, redirect your mind to something that's better.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what do? You redirect your mind and your energy.
Distraction.
Do something else. And the author says, well, what about books, magazines, TV programs, films, or videos that promote sexual desire? Should they be cut out, eliminated?
It's going to be a very boring world if they cut out all of that stuff.
In some cases, they need to be. You know, some people don't have controls, and continually watching the wrong kind of program or something, it just could instill those bad thoughts to the point that it would be dangerous.
My mother used to have a thing, and I wish I could remember it verbatim, but I can't. And she's not around for me to ask. But you know, something to the effect that be careful what you put into your brain. Be careful what you look at, what you see, what you hear, because that's always with you. And it affects the kind of person you are. The problem today is try to watch a TV program that doesn't have profanity, violence, excessive sex.
We can't even turn on the news without some of those things.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. So we have to develop our own self-filter for those kinds of issues.
Your mother's thing makes me think of that Philippians verse that think about things that are excellent. You guys know the one I'm talking about?
Pure and good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know I used to listen to a lot of country music, and I finally decided to stop when the radio station that I was playing was constantly talking about cheating on your wife, or, you know, going to the bar constantly, and just, you know, over and over and over the same kind of theme. And I didn't feel like it was healthy for me, so I gave it up.
Well, in the book, Bolton jumps ahead out of the Sermon on the Mount there. He goes to John and mentions John's response. And it's the story of the religious scholars and Pharisees who led a woman who's caught in adultery. They stood her in plain sight and said, "Teacher, this woman was caught red-handed in the act of adultery. Moses in the law gives orders to stone such persons. So what do you say?" What does Jesus do? Bends down, starts writing in the sand. And I think that's that 10-second rule I think we talked about. You know, give people a little bit, 10 seconds. Paul Bennetts would tell you the two chemicals in your brain, which I can't remember, that after 10 seconds, they start dropping down. So you're not as prone to erratic behavior. So Jesus.
Is that why Jesus started writing on the ground? Because he needed.
I think it was. I have a personal insight into this one, and I think that's why he was writing in the ground. I have no idea, but it makes sense.
You were there. Doodling, so he didn't spout out what he really wanted to say.
No, I wish.
I had heard it. I don't remember where I heard this, but somebody had the opinion that he meant this literally, is that if you who has not committed adultery, let him throw the first stone.
Well, and they goad him to the point where he basically does say that. He says, sinless one among you, go first. And of course, no one does. And the end result is he says to the woman, Does no one condemn you? No one, Master. Neither do I, said Jesus. Go your way from now on and don't sin.
I think it's interesting that it says they walked away one after another, beginning with the oldest.
Yeah.
Like the older we get, the more temptation we have.
Yeah.
And each year that goes by, you sinned a little bit more.
And maybe you understand what people go through, the temptations that people go through, which doesn't make it right, but it does mean you're at least maybe a little more understanding about what people have gone through.
Not so judgmental.
Yeah. So then let's go to Paul. And Paul says, for those who live according to the flesh set their minds on things of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit. To set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the Spirit is life and peace. For this reason, the mind that is set on the flesh is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law. Indeed, it cannot. And those who are in the flesh cannot please God. It makes it sound like we all need to not be in the flesh. So I thought that's the New Revised Standard Version Updated Edition. I thought, I'm curious what the message says. Because I think that version is a little hard to say. So I had to update the depiction of Paul a little bit to make it more contemporary.
And he has playing cards on his desk.
He does.
Along with
Got a mohawk though.
the language here. Says those who think they can do it on their own end up obsessed with measuring their own moral muscle, but never get around to exercising it in real life. Those who trust God's action in them find that God's Spirit is in them, living and breathing God. Obsession with self in these matters is a dead end. Attention to God leads us out into the open, into a spacious, free life. Focusing on the self is the opposite of focusing on God. Anyone completely absorbed in self ignores God and ends up thinking more about self than God. That person ignores who God is and what he is doing, and God isn't pleased at being ignored. I tend to like that interpretation better. Yeah, it makes more sense to me anyhow. But so we have 2 minutes, so I have to move along. What Jesus is not teaching is, he's not teaching, the author says he's not teaching against sexual attraction between two who have covenanted together before God, to live faithfully for their lives. These are the words of the author, Bolton. He goes on to say, our sexuality is a God-given gift. Such sexual love with friendship and faithfulness to each other creates a strong marriage. And I think we've covered a lot of that already. And in Mark, we get this triad that I think that we talked about last Sunday, where some testing him ask, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? And so that's the traditional righteousness. He answered them, what did Moses command you? They said, Moses allowed a man to write a certificate of dismissal and to divorce her. And that's kind of the vicious cycle. You know, the men get to perpetuate and end the marriage on their own accord. But Jesus said to them, because of your hardness of heart, he wrote this commandment for you. But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate. And you've heard that phrase. And that's the transforming initiative. So it's not just some of the commandments and Sermon on the Mount treated as a dyad. You know, you should not do this. You've heard it read. You've heard this said, but this is what I command you. And the author and others are saying there's a third component here that you need to look at what the transforming principle is. So, Jesus' view of sexuality. This one we could talk about for a long time, maybe not. Jesus thus celebrates and prizes human sexuality and speaks of its beauty and purity, intended from the beginning of creation. Today, not all Christians have the same opinion about homosexual relationships, but the principle of fidelity and purity can apply here as well. And that's what we could talk about for a long time, but we have a minus 2 minutes.
You left that at the end on purpose, huh?
Well, you both just talk too much.
Hey, you were complaining we weren't talking.
Yeah,
So we started talking.
It took a while to get you going. I can't slow you down. I don't know where to stop this because let me do one more here. Basically, James Rathborn says, evolutionarily, we are simply wired for sex. In human communities, our sexual instincts are better channeled in constructive ways. Wise behavior reduces conflicts, jealousy, and builds trust in the community. So noticing our lust, taking practical steps to deal with it, and making wiser choices prevents problems like family breakdown and crimes of compassion. And I don't think there's much to argue about in that particular one. The author at the end has several reflections. We're going to skip over the reflections. Here's his prayer, and we'll end with this. And I'm sorry we didn't get to hell today. We'll have to do that another day. Help me, loving God, to strategically tackle the roots of sexual temptation before they lead me and others into great danger. Amen.
Amen.